Itmar, we're now in Dafnun Gimel and Beis. Shor v'shor psulia mukdashim shenoghu shor. So we have two shvarim that together did a negicha. One of the two shvarim was a shor of chulin, and the other was a shor psulia mukdashim, that there was a hakdasha for the carbon, and then it fell a mum. Now before pidyon, it belongs to Hegdesh. And as long as it belongs to Hegdesh, there's no din of Nezikin. And that's based on a drasha back on Davavam and Beis. It says, Shareyehu, Re'ehu v'lo shel Hegdesh. Again, after Pidyon, it's Yatzel l'chulin. That's Chulin l'chol dov. Now, there's a Girsa issue here. My new Shar B'char. The low parkley. Okay, the Gemara, for some reason, in that Girsa, gives an example of a shar that was a bachar, which gives it a din of hegdish lekarbon, and it fell, and a mum fell on the animal, and there was no pigeon. And here we have machlokas between Abaye and Ravina. Abaye Omar Mishalim Chatzi Nezek. The Baal Shar of Chulin has to pay Chatzi Nezek. He was an equal partner in causing the hezek. And the other partner in causing Nezek was the Shar Psula Mikdashim, but the Pasuk Re'ehu excludes it. So it seems like Abai is going with the Svar of Rabbi Nosson. Leka Lashtulmi Hai, Stalumi Hai, Ravina Mishalim Ravia Nezek. We can only penalize the Baal Shar Chulin a Ravia Nezek. Because if the Shar is a short time, it only pays Chatzi Nezek, and here it had another partner, and therefore you are only mechayev him the chatzi nezek of what he maximum could have been chayev, which is a quarter, which is half of a half, which is a quarter. So the Gemara now explains the machlokas hava of a tam. So Abaye and Ravina both talk about a shor shel chulin, which is a tam. Ha kirabanon v'ha Rabbi Nosson. Ravina, who says that you pay only Ravia Nezek, that's the Rabbanon. And that's the opinion of Rabbanon, that a partner in a Hezek does not have to pick up the tab for the other partner. And therefore, since his shar was a shar of Chulin, and it was only a partner, therefore he plays only half of his chiyuv. His chiyuv would have been Chatzi Nezek, and half of a Chatzi Nezek is a Reva Ravia Nezek. And the balance of the loss has to be suffered by the Nizak. For her, but Abayu says that he pays Chatzi Nezek, Ki Rabbi Nosson, that whatever the Shutaf would have paid, but doesn't pay, because in this case, Shar Psulia Mikdash doesn't pay, so we transfer that over to the Baal HaChulin, Shar Shel Chulin, and therefore we jack up his chiyuv from a Reva Nezek to Chatzi Nezek. We can't be mechayev from nezek sholem because a tam is never chayev more than chatzi nezek. Ibois ema. Now we have another transmission of the machlok shin Abaye v'Rava. Hava ha, both Abaye and Ravina hold kirabanon, and therefore we're not megalgel from one shutav to the other shutav. But Ravina, when he said that he pays only Reva Nezek, that's a Shartam. So Shartam, which would max out at Chatzi Nezek, now he only pays as a Shutaf, he pays half of that, which is Reva. Veha, and Abaye is talking about a Muad, which means that if not for the Shutfas, he would have paid Nezek Shalom. Now he has a Shutaf, we have to split it in half, he only pays 50%, which is Chatzi Nezek. Ika diamri. Now we have a different transmission of the machlok shin Abaye and Ravina. Abaye Omar Chatzi Nezek, Ravina Omar Kulei Nezek. Just the opposite. Abaye is the Mekil, and Ravina is the Machmir. And now the Gemara explains this machlokas according to this new transmission of the Ika diamri. Hava ha b'muad. Both Abaye and Ravina talk about a shor muad. Ha Abaye Kirabanon. Therefore, you cannot be megalgil on one shutuf the tashlume nezek of the other shutuf. So the shoshel chulin pays chatzi nezek, which is his part in the hezek, because again he has a shutuf in the nezek. For Ravina, who holds that now the Bala shoshel chulin has to pay nezek sholem kirabi nosam. That if he cannot collect from one shutuf, then we megalgil that chelik onto the other shutuf. And you can't collect from the shoshel hegdesh, so therefore the chiyuv tashlum of the shoshel hegdesh is now transferred over to the shoshel chulin, and he pays kuli nezek. Again, you have to assume that whatever injuries were suffered by the person or the shor that was victimized, that was attacked, is enough to have created that hezek. Iboy say mahava both Abai and Rava hold kirabi nasa that we megalgil the chelik of the shutaf on the other shutaf, and there's no machlokas. Ha Ravina is bimuad, and a muad pays nezek shalem. And since we're holding like Rabbi Nosson that we're megalgil, therefore Ravina maintains that he has to pay the entire nezek. V'han Abai, he's talking about a short time, and therefore, even after you megalgil, he doesn't pay more than chatzi nezek, like any short time. Omar Rava Sharvi Adam. Now we have a shutfus between a shar and a human being. Shedachafu lebar. They push something into a bar. Le'inyan is zakin. Let's say they push the human being into a bar, and he was injured and he didn't die. Because again, if he died, then we have then bar is potter. Bar is potter for misas adam, but he pays for nizke adam. So we're talking about a case of nizke adam. Is kulan chayovim l'shalem. Both the adam and the shar who were dochafim, and the balabar, into whose bar they pushed a person who got injured, chayovim, they all have to pay tashlumei nezek. Each one will pay a third. But what if the shor was a shor tam? So we'll take a third and split it in half, and he pays 1/6. The adam and the bar will pay the balance of the hezek, and that's based on Rabbi Nosson. Okay, fine. Kulam chayov le'inyan arba dvarim. Right, this human being that was pushed into the bar by a person and a shar has rights to collect dmei chavola of tsar ripui sheves uboshes, udmei vlodos. If, let's say, it was a pregnant woman that got pushed into the bar and she lost her vlodos, then adam chayav is sharu bar potter. Only the adam has to pay this tashlum. Everything is collected from the adam. Let me just think if we understand why. I think we're talking about a case where a person died. If a person died, then bar is potter. And shar the shar is le'inyan kofer. So it means that when a shar muad that kills a person is chayav kofer. So why is the shar potter? Just 1 second. Okay, shar is potter from dal dvarim. based on the pasuk of ish ki yitem mu ba miso, ish ba miso v'lo shar ba miso. That was a Gemara on Chavav. To make vladas potur, and that's a drush that we had on Daf Mem Beis. V'chinotzu anoshim enogfu isha har v'yotzi l'deo anoshim v'lo shvar. Ach legabi bar lo nemra drasha mefureshes. So why is the bar potter? I guess we're saying anoshim v'lo bar. And in our Bodvarm, it's ish ba miso v'lo bar ba miso. Ushloshim shel eved shor chayev odem ubar pturim. And what's this based on? Odem is potter mikofer. Why? Im kofer yushas olav v'lo ala odem. Bar is potter from kofer because in bar it says v'nofal shomesh shor v'lo odem. So that's as far as kofer. Linyan kelim is shor ushar psuya mikdashim. Odem v'shar chayavim ubar pot. So bar is potter on kelim. My timer. Why is bar potter on kelim? And why is there a ptur of shar psuya mikdashim? On Makra, pasuk says that if a shar falls into a bar, v'hamesia lo. And what are we going to derive from these extra words? V'hamesia lo, misha meis shalo. So this is based on a sugi in Bechoros Daf Tesvav, that with regard to psuli hamikdoshim sheniftu, the pasuk says in Parshas Rei, it says tizbach v'yachalta basar, which means that even after pidyon, you're not allowed to eat anything more than achilas b'sara. But tizbach v'lo legiza and basar v'lo lecholav v'yachalta means atorah shoy lechol. But if it became an avela lo tachilenu leklovim ela tu'unim kfura. So a bar is patur on sharp psuli hamikdashim. Frekta Gemara v'lemeimra, shall we assume that pshita leila Rava doesn't seem to vacillate about this assumption that sharp psuli hamikdashim that falls into the Baal bar is patur. But boy leila Rava had a suffix about this. The boy Rava shar psuli hamikdashim shenafal bar mahu. And the Gemara now gives us the two studim. Hi, the pasuk of Vamesia lo. That we dash b'mish hamesh shelo yotzes zeh she'ena mesh shelo, as we said earlier. Sharp psuli mikdashim ena mesh shelo. Oh, Dilma, shall we say that the pasuk of Vamesia lo is coming to teach me something entirely different? To teach me so we're going to derive from this pasuk that if a shor dies in the bottom of a bar, then the bailim of the shor have to pick up the nevela and do an evaluation how much the nevela is worth on the market, and the mazik will pay the increment and make up the differential so that how much it was worth before it fell into the bar. Okay, the fact that Rav was definite about this tour is not a surprise to us because originally he was vacillating, but then he came to a definite conclusion. So the Gemara now asks the kasha, in other words, if Rava is using the pasuk of Hamesia lo for the question of psule hamukdashim in a bar, then how do we derive the conclusion that it's the nizak who has to hassle with the nevel of the carcass? And the Gemara answers nafkalei because there's another pasuk of Amesi Alo. Now, what are these two psukim? The first pasuk, Vamesi Alo, is in the parsha of Bar. Everything is in Shmos Chaf Aleph, but this is pasuk Lamed Dalid. It says Bala Bar Yishalim Kesev Yoshiv Lebail Vamesi Alo, and now the Gemara is quoting a different pasuk, which is two psukim later in pasuk Lamed Vav. It says in the context of Shor, it says Shalem Yishalem Shor Takashor Vamesi Alo. Tishor. It's in the parsha of Shor. So the Gemara asks the kasha, "My chazis the Vamesi Alo Dishor Mafkis Le Lebolim Etalpum Minavela." This last pasuk that we quoted in the parsha of Shor, Vamesi Alo is going to be interpreted as teaching us that the nizak has to hassle with the nevela, and then debar, the Vamesi Alo debar is Mafkis Le Lemisha HaMeis Shalo, that if a sharp Psuli HaMikdash falls into a bar, you potter. Why don't I say just the opposite? That Shor Shenogach Shor Psuli HaMikdashim, after opinion, is potter based on the pasuk of Amesi Alo. But if a shar falls into a bar, then the bala bar is chayav. And Gemara says, Mistabra, we're going to be more mekil in the case of bar. Why? Ptur gabi bar. We're going to attach a ptur to the bar and say that he's potter from sharp psuli hamikdashim. Holu potter bar sakelim. Because if kalim fall into a bar, the bala bar doesn't pay. So it's more logical that we assume a kula in the case of bar. Frekting more adarabba, ptur nami shor. Shor also has its ptur. She came potter bo chatzi nezek. If the animal is on his first 3 rounds, you only pay chatzi nezek. Gemara says kuli nezek mi'lo ashkecha. We don't find a ptur of nezek sholem in a shor, but only in a bar. The Mishnah says nafal tocho shor v'kelev v'nishtabru. He pays for the behemoth that died, but not for the kelim. And the Gemara clarifies this. Umasnisin to lo to Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion that a bar is chayav in nizkei kelim. Desanya Rabbi Yehuda mechayav in nizkei kelim. My time in the Rabbanon. Amar kra v'nafal shoma shor o chamor. Doesn't say v'nafal shoma hanofel. So why did the Torah specify shor and chamor? And the Rabbanon darshan shor v'lo adam, chamor v'lo kelim. V'Rabbi Yehuda, he has the extra word o. It says shor o adam. I'm sorry, shor o chamor. The rabbis sakelim for Rabbanon. What do they do with the word o? And here on Daf Nandalid, o mi boile lechalek. They need the word o lechalek between shor and chamor to teach us that even if a shor alone falls into a bar, or even if a chamor alone falls into the bar, the bala bar is chayav. Well, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yehuda darshans o as a ribu for kelim. How is he going to learn l'chalik that even if the shor alone or the chamor alone is mi v'nafal nafka? He derives it from v'nafal b'loshen yachid. It doesn't say v'naflu b'loshen rabin, which would indicate that both the shor and the chamor. L'Rabbanan, why do they need o l'chalik? Why don't they derive it from v'nafal b'loshen yachid? And when it says v'nafal tuva mashma, the word v'nafal doesn't mean dafka one animal. And even if there was an afila of shar and chamar together, we would still use the word v'nafal. And therefore, we need O to teach me l'chalek that even if only one of these two animals fell into the bar, either it was a shar alone or a chamar alone, the bala bar is chayav. So this is where we're going to stop for today. Let's make a note of it. And tomorrow is Tuesday. So that's Nun Dal. Tomorrow's Dal. What we have to fill in is Nun Gimel. Am I correct? Let me just double check that for myself. Yeah, we have to fill in Nun Gimel. All right. I hope I'll find the time for that. Okay, thank you very much and have a good evening.